Here's a future all-star in the high school hockey league. Shaker Heights and Cleveland Heights. Showdown on the east side this afternoon. Shaker scoring on the power play. Chris Ciccone for a 3-zip Red Raider lead. Watch Paul Neundorfer get checked hard, but the Tiger gets it ahead to Mark Frew. Still not enough to top Ryan Mayhew's hat trick for Shaker. All right, to show you some great goals. We can do it down in Brooklyn. Watch this one by Padua freshman Randy Solomon getting his second goal of the game, the second of his Bruin career. To tie Shaker Heights at 4 tonight, but the Red Raiders take over the lead in the Red Division with 3 straight goals. This one by Scott Frericks. Shaker wins the game 7-4. Now, what you're about.
Shaker's hockey team is the best in the area at this moment. Ron Younts has a report on why from the high school sports desk. Ron.
Well, Gibber, #1 in the area and #2 in the state, but for quite a while this year, the Shaker Heights Red Raiders were ranked #1 in Ohio. They've outscored their opponent 121-59 this year. They've had a 12-game winning streak to go along with it, and they want even more. In 1991, the Shaker Heights hockey team won 20 of 27 games and enjoyed one of its most successful seasons since its state championship year in 1981. It's now 1993, and if success is measured in a 20-win season, this group of Red Raiders is only 3 wins away. And there's a simple reason why.
You know, the years that you have mostly seniors on your team is usually the time you're going to make some noise, and with this group of athletes, we've put in a lot of work, a lot of development, and it's really gratifying to see them have some success.
Out of the 23 players Coach Bartley has on his 17-3-1 team, 10 of them are seniors, and most of those have played together since they were 8 years old. This is a team with overall good speed, strength, and if you ask their opponents, a team that moves the puck well. If you ask the Shaker players,
it's unselfishness, team unselfishness. You know, we've got 3 strong lines, got a lot of depth, and all the lines work the puck really well. That's probably the key to our offense.
In the 3 losses, I think 2 of them we just came out a little flat, and 1 of them we just seemed like we got outplayed. Other than that, I think if we come out and work hard every night, it's going to be tough to beat us.
Like Ari and Ryan said, we've played together since we were 8 or 9 years old, and we've always been a team that's been very competitive. We've always been in the top of our standings. However, the one goal we've never accomplished is to win states, and I think we're really focused about that.
Well, Gerber, they've got a big one coming up this Friday at Winterhurst in Lakewood. It's for the Red Division Championship. Shaker Heights against St. Edwards for the Red Division Championship, and of course the winner of the Red Division will get the #1 seed in the Barron Cup, so it's an important game.
The state in March?
State comes after the Barron Cup, yeah.
Right. Okay, Ron, thank you. Major
Division I game. Shaker and St. Ed's were playing for the Division I title. Were the fans ready? You bet they were. First period, 2-1 Shaker. St. Ed's with the puck. Look at Jason Dickey. This is a big-time move to tie the game at 2. Things seemed like they were going St. Ed's way. Not for long. Ryan Mayhew attacking. He leaves it for Ari Chopra. Chopra, slap shot, beats Alan Sykon for a 3-2 Shaker lead. Chopra had a hat trick on the day, and the Red Raiders from Shaker Heights win the Division I title 7-4 over St. Ed's. So, Jeff, next up for the high school hockey players is the state tournament, and that begins next week.
Hey, Dave. Thanks very much.
Okay.
And he did. The Barron Cup title games featuring a dominant Shaker win in Division I and a squeaker by the Euclid Panthers in Division II. Let's go to the rec center at Brooklyn for some highlights. Shaker would get the hat trick. You'll see it coming here from #8, Ari Chopra, in today's Division I title game against the St. Edward Eagles. He will make this shot with a very difficult angle, to say the least. The Red Raiders win 7-4, and they get a chance to skate around with the trophy. The sectionals beginning this week at Brooklyn.
All right, next week is also a huge week for high school hockey. Trips to the state tournament are on the line. This weekend, it was for bragging rights and a chance to carve your name into the Barron Cup as city champions. Full house at Brooklyn, watching Shaker win its first title since 1981. Scott Frericks with the goal right there. They beat St. Ed's. Something tells me they're going to see the Eagles again. Ari Chopra with a hat trick. Again, the Shaker Heights Red Raiders winning the Barron Cup today in Division I. Euclid won it in Division II. Now they'll start all over again for the trip to state this week.
High school hockey sectional action going on over at the Brooklyn Rec Center, and Chuck Coletti was there for the doubleheader tonight. And here's what went on over there.
Well, most 14-year-old girls like spending their nights talking on the phone or watching Beverly Hills 90210. Tonight in Brooklyn, 14-year-old Melissa Norris was once again tending goal for the North Olmsted Eagles as they faced off in the sectional finals with the 17 3-1 Shaker Heights Red Raiders. And the Eagles would be seeing red after this one as they were beat up pretty good by Shaker Heights, a team that's hoping this is their first step towards a state title. So as Melissa and North Olmsted lose a tough one tonight, 11-1, nothing to be ashamed of, as Shaker Heights is seated first in the tournament.
And Harkin's alma mater, St. Ed's, is a favorite to go to the state hockey tournament this year, but so is their new arch rival. Bob Stevens explains.
When Shaker Heights beat St. Ed's last weekend for the city championship, they had to stop and think about what to do with the Barron Cup. After all, the Red Raiders hadn't won it since these kids were in kindergarten.
It's a good tune-up for the state tournament, but it's just one piece to the puzzle. So the state tournament's the big show.
If the Red Raiders want to put a second state championship banner up on the wall, they're probably going to end up having to beat the team that's got the banner from last year, the team they beat for the Barron Cup last week, St. Ed's.
I wouldn't mind playing them again. I think we match up well against them. They're a good team. Bowling Green's real strong, and there's some other teams over in the west side that could really surprise us. But I think if we play our game, it's going to really be tough to beat us.
It has been getting tougher to beat them ever since they were shot down as big shot sophomores.
We know this is a dream season for all of us, especially the 10 seniors, and there's no reason why we can't.
I've been looking at that banner up there for God knows how long, since I was 8 years old, and I was learning to skate here. I've been looking up at that banner and wondering what it means, and now I think I know.
And now he knows what to do if they win. Bob Stevens, News Channel 5.
I think it'll be Shaker and St. Ed's going to those state championships.
I know one of the
year.
stars of that team, Brad Forward, and they're all good boys here. They're all real good, solid
They're good
competitors.
skates, right?
They're good skates. That's what I wanted to say.
Right, okay.
Let's see them skate well from now on, too.
With the many basketball cancellations and our cold weather, we're freezing us right now, Ron Yance covers district tournament action, which is appropriate, from the high school sports desk. Ron.
Well, Gibber, in 1981, the Shaker Heights Red Raiders won a state high school hockey championship. This year, they're already Barron Cup champions, and with a win tonight, the Red Raiders would find themselves only one game away from the state's Final Four. But first, two out of work and hard on their luck former TV stars. Who, you ask? Why, it's Captain Kangaroo. Captain Kangaroo no longer in syndication, so he's taken his act to the road. And tonight, Captain Kangaroo and his old buddy, Mr. Green Jeans, too. There was hockey tonight. Shaker led 2-1 after one period, and that goal came by Ryan Mayhew. It made it 3-1. Red Raiders, Ari Chopra with the assist on the goal. 19 seconds later, Scott Frericks skated in, and Frericks made it 4-1. Shaker after 2 periods. Third period, more Red Raiders. Ryan Mayhew off the face-off. His shot won't go, but Ari Chopra's foul does. With 2 goals in the first period, Chopra had the hat trick, and Shaker led 5-1. 7 seconds later, Scott Frericks. No, Ari Chopra. Yes, Chopra had a goal, number 4 on the night, and Frericks' second assist. Shaker led 6-1. Shaker scored 3 goals within 26 seconds, and here's number 3. Mayhew, the assist to Frericks, and Scott Frericks' second goal of the night made it 7-1 Shaker, and that was the final. Shaker Heights beats Valley Forge 7-1 tonight in the district semifinal, and Shaker Heights is only 1 game away from the state's Final Four.
Yeah, that's what we're working toward, and you know, we're going to have to play somebody tough all the way along the road now, and we're just going to have to be ready every time we step on the ice.
We seemed like we could just step out on the ice and we'd automatically win the game. That wasn't the case. We realized that after the end of the first period when the score was 2-1. So our team needed a little boost. I figured, you know, that 4 goals would help boost up the team, get them playing.
4 goals ought to give you a boost. Chopra had 2 assists to go with those 4 goals. Shaker's number 1 line scored all 7 goals tonight. Gibber, the Red Raiders are now 23-4-1, and they advance to the district final on Saturday afternoon. They'll play either Mentor or Padua, the winner going to the state's Final Four.
Don't hockey coaches get excited like basketball coaches?
No. He's waiting to get excited, I think.
Okay.
Judging by the records, it was pretty obvious which teams were supposed to advance to the state hockey tournament today at the Brooklyn Rec Center. Shaker Heights, great record, 23-4-1, and Padua, only 10-16. But their district game was tied at 2 going into the 3rd period today. 4 minutes left, game was still tied at 2. Ryan Mayhew on the ice scores anyway. It was 3-2 Shaker Heights. A couple of minutes later, Ben Simon was on the ice. Passes it anyway, over to Mayhew, wrist shot, and there's another goal. Made it 4-2, and the Red Raiders win it 5-2. The second game, it was St. Ignatius at 14-13-1 against St. Edwards at 22-6-1. Late in the first period, there was no score. Ed's passes inside here, and Jason Dickey inside gets the goal. There it was. 1-0. Eagles had the lead. Ignatius tied it in the second, but Ed scored 2 goals in the third to win it 3-1. Eagles are now 23-6-1. So it'll be St. Edwards and Shaker Heights now both in the state tournament. It'll be next weekend at the Brooklyn Rec Center.
Today, Cleveland's best high school hockey teams are now down to 2 as Shaker Heights and St. Ed's are headed to the Final Four. Shaker advanced today with a 5-2 win over Padua. Shaker trailing 2-1 when Ari Chopra notches the first of his 2 on the afternoon, and we're deadlocked at 2 apiece. Then Shaker breaks it open, 3 straight goals. Ryan Mayhew had 2 of them. This won the game winner as Shaker beats Padua 5-2. Also tonight in the nightcap, St. Ed's and St. Ignatius.
Meanwhile, earlier yesterday, it was the Cinderella Padua Bruins. They were tied at 2, believe it or not, with #1 seeded Shaker Heights after 2 periods. But in the third, Shaker Heights would score 3 unanswered goals. This one by Brian Mayhew as he was falling down. That would be the game winner. Shaker Heights also advances to the states, winning 5-2.
2 local teams that have been state hockey champions were in the state semifinals of hockey this afternoon at the Brooklyn Rec Center. One of those teams, Shaker Heights, the Red Raiders. They won their state title in 1981. They scored 2 goals in the first period today to take the lead against Toledo St. John's. Still 2-0 after 2 periods. But then in the third, Ben Simon heads right to the net, and that's a goal. That made it 3-0, and that was the final. Shaker Heights is in the state championship game. In the second semifinal game, Bob Whidden and the defending state champion St. Ed Eagles had to play Bowling Green, and Bowling Green is always tough. Game tied at 1 late in the third period. Mike Windish on the move for Bowling Green, gets a shove right there, doesn't matter, passes, and there's the goal. Dave Dickinson wins it for Bowling Green. That was a nice pass. St. Ed's is out. They lose to BG 2-1. So it'll be Bowling Green against Shaker Heights in the state championship game tomorrow. It starts at 2 o'clock at the Brooklyn Rec Center.
Today on the ice, Shaker Heights is headed for the state title game. This afternoon at Brooklyn, Shaker led Toledo St. John's 2-0 before stealing it in the third. Shaker putting the pressure on and scoring 2 first-period goals, out shooting St. John's by 20 shots. In the third, Shaker seals it, though. Ben Simon uses the pretty move to make it 3-0, and Shaker Heights headed to the finals, a 3-0 winner. St. Ed's met Bowling Green.
Shaker Heights is just 1 victory away from the state high school hockey championship. The Red Raiders grabbed a 2-0 lead on goals by Scott Barish and Chris Lockram, and they went on to eliminate Toledo St. John's 3-0 at the Brooklyn Ice Rink. In the other state semifinal.
At the 1. Watch this nice save as the fans love it. Their first title since 1981, and as you can see, pandemonium reigned.
It feels real good, I'll tell you, and I couldn't be happier for our kids. You know, I overheard Ari Chopra there after the game was over. He said he'd been to the state tournament 3 times, and this was the first time he had won a state tournament. And a lot of these kids were real hungry and dedicated to get the job done, and they went out and did it.
Well, despite falling behind early, Shaker Heights used a second-period rally to capture Ohio State high school hockey title today. A full house at the Brooklyn rink, watching them take on Bowling Green. Shaker trailing 1-0 when the Red Raiders Doug Updegraft finds the loose puck, beats goalie Scott Jones. We're tied at 1. Seconds left in the period, Chris Lockren to Ari Chopra, who walks in and beats Jones again. It's 2-1, but the Shaker MVP, goalie Chris Brown, allowing only 1 goal, and Shaker holds on for a 2-1 victory in this state championship.
This year was the season we all dreamed about, and to get that goal just finished it off for me. Definitely made my whole career worthwhile.
Well, this was the way a state championship game is supposed to be. The #1 ranked high school hockey team in the state was Bowling Green. The #2 team was Shaker Heights. They played for the state championship game this afternoon at the Brooklyn Rec Center. Shaker Heights Red Raiders yesterday got into the finals by shutting out Toledo St. John 3-0. Mike Bartley's guys, the fans, were trying to intimidate the BG Bobcats today. In the second, 1-0 BG, goalie Scott Jones loses his stick and his glove. It cost him. Dan Updegraft beats him, and the game was tied at 1. Then in the final minute of the second period, the pass goes inside to Ari Chopra. He's hit. He scores anyway. Shaker Heights took a 2-1 lead in the third period. Goalie Chris Brown had the shutout yesterday for Shaker Heights. He was great again today. BG, 26 shots on goal. Brown stopped 25 of them. This one with 2 minutes left in the game, and that just about did it for the Red Raiders of Shaker Heights. In the Final Four, for the first time in 10 years, they win the state hockey championship, 2-1 over Bowling Green.
We've had a real strong offense all year. I mean, we were averaging scoring 8 goals a game. So I knew that as long as I kept them down around 1 or 2, then I knew our offense was going to take care of ourselves. itself?
Been waiting for this moment for all my life. Been in 3 state championship games and came so close and never won one. It's just a dream season.
A lot of these kids were real hungry and dedicated to get the job done, and they went out and did it.
Did you like that beard on Ari there? 17. This was the 3rd straight year Bowling Green was in the state championship game. They beat Padua 2 years ago, but lost to St. Edwards last year. Shaker Heights' last state title was back in 1981.
3. Meanwhile, locally, Shaker Heights and Bowling Green squaring off, and what a game it was. Look at that goal right there by Dan Updegraft. That made it a 1-1 game in the second. 15 ticks left in the second period. Ari Chopra, this would be the game winner at the 14:45 mark. And why not celebrate? Shaker Heights, the state champions in hockey, and should be very proud. Why not? They win it all, beating Bowling Green 2-1. Now all the rest of tonight's scores on tonight's scoreboard.
All right, thank you very much, Casey. It took 12 years, but it was worth the wait for Shaker Heights hockey team. They won the state title today over Bowling Green. The final was 2-1. We go to the Brooklyn Rec Center. Shaker is in white. Ari Chopra and Dan Updegraft got the goals in this freewheeling game. Watch that hard check right there. They led 2-1 and hung on thanks to the brilliant work in front of the nets by Chris Brown. He allowed only 1 goal during the weekend as he stopped shot after shot after shot, and then Shaker counts it down and goes bonkers as the game ends.
It feels real good, I'll tell you, and I couldn't be happier for our kids. You know, I overheard Ari Chopra there after the game was over. He said he'd been to the state tournament 3 times, and this was the first time he had won a state tournament. And a lot of these kids were real hungry and dedicated to get the job done, and they went out and did it.
And congratulations to the Red Raiders. Now we check the scores as we update the Crunch and the Lumberjacks.
9. Now, you know, there's nothing sweeter for a high school team than a state championship, and they're celebrating one in Shaker Heights tonight. In the second period at the Brooklyn Recreation Center, Shaker catches Bowling Green goalie Scott Jones naked. No glove, no stick, and Dan Updegraft makes him pay to tie the game at 1-1. And then the game winner for Shaker with 14 seconds to go in the period. Captain Ari Chopra walks in and beats Jones to make it 2-1 Red Raiders. That's how it wound up. Shaker goalie Chris Brown was magnificent stopping this Bowling Green breakaway. Brown giving up only 1 goal over the weekend, and the celebration was on as Shaker won its first state hockey title since 1981. It is something that Captain Ari Chopra and Coach Mike Bartley will long remember.
Feels great. I've been dreaming for this, been waiting for this moment all my life, and finally it came to get this chance.
Yeah, he was pumped today. He wanted it bad. He played very, very well offensively and defensively, and that's the secret.